What up? You are now tuned into the Black Ramen Podcast. I myself am Chatty Patty, aka Madam Straw Hat, aka the Celestial Freaking Dragon, and I have with me my awesome crewmates.
Hello, hello. This is Sleepy Bree, aka T7 Bree. As always, nice to talk to y'all.
What's up, guys? This is Sexual Chocolate. If you heard that tapping on the mic, that was me. My bad. I was definitely late, and so I'm doing mic tests like randomly right now.
Man, one thing about Black Ramen, we are not on time. I'm gonna let you know that right now. If you pay us, you know we
still will be on time.
Well, I'll be on time.
I'll be on time.
This time wasn't even my fault.
So Crunchyroll say, "Hey, listen, we're gonna give you such amount if you come here." I'm like, man, I already got my hotel. Let's go. I already booked it. All right, so y'all didn't even introduce? Did everybody introduce themselves? Everybody was good? Because I'm still all right, cool. All right, cool. So you know what? I'm gonna pass the mic over to Bree since she got this interesting topic that I was like, oh, this is fire. So take it away, Bree.
Okay. So let's see. Especially these days, I'm seeing a ton of like Chinese animation series. Like, if you heard me talk at all, you know I am a ridiculous hardcore fan of MXTX. If you know what that is, you know. But that's the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation series, the Heaven Official's Blessing, which you can find on Netflix. And it's really coming to my attention that there is a ton of Chinese animated series coming out and exploding right now. And when I see people talking about it, a lot of times, again, sorry to talk about TikTok, but I see it on TikTok. People say like, oh, what's the anime name? What's the anime name? And then someone else replies, oh, it's not an anime, it's a Donghua. Doesn't care, it doesn't matter, same thing. And I'm looking at that saying like, is it? Can we say that? So what I wanted to talk about now is with the emergence of another powerhouse in animation right next to Japan, is it fine to call it all anime, or like, do we have to be distinct? So ultimately, guys, yeah, I'm going right back to something we've already discussed a million times. But what is anime? What do we define as anime? It's the cliche, is Avatar an anime question. So that's what I'm going to put forward in front of people. The main question I want y'all two to answer so I can hear your opinions is kind of like, how do we define anime? Is it fine to pretty much call anything that's anime-esque anime?
Well, I respect everybody's pronouns. So I'm gonna call it Donghua. Like, if that's what it's called, yes. I feel like there is a distinctive difference when it comes to Japanese animation and Chinese animation. I feel like for you to put them all in the same pot and just say it's just anime, it's kind of a little disrespectful for both parties involved, because all of them have their distinctive way of how they handle their animation and how prideful they are with their work. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily give everything an anime title. Like, the only thing that get the grace is probably Avatar because it's anime-esque. I would still consider it an anime-esque, but it's not. And also, we also have that beef where Netflix decided not to call Castlevania anime anymore. Now it's just
is it at all anime?
It is. It was produced in Japan.
Oh, for real? Okay.
It was produced in Japan, but the creator is not Japanese. He is I think he's American or Middle Eastern. Because I was watching the documentary Netflix Enter the Anime, and this is another way for them to showcase all their animes that are coming out on their lineup. So yeah, it was produced, if I'm not mistaken, it was produced in Japan. It's just that they decided to take away Netflix anime series and just made it a Netflix series. But the first season, when it first came out, it said Netflix anime series, but it doesn't say that anymore. So they took it off the category. So yeah, as anime fans, we always want to claim stuff that's anime is. And it's fine. But as long as you know that you don't have a bone in this fight when it's really coming down to the actual factuals, nah, it can't be. You can't let that slide. You got to be like, all right, she's beautiful to me. That's how it is. You're just gonna be like, she's anime to me. But we all know that it's not anime or anime-esque. It's just anime-esque.
Okay, what about you, Derb?
So real quick for the Cowboy, not the Cowboy Bebop, wow, the Castlevania thing. I think it was an American studio that did it. That's probably why it ended up there.
Okay.
Yeah. I if I'm hanging out with like people who are just like in a casual setting, I can easily see myself just dumping everything into anime because everyone will still know what I'm talking about. But I feel like in any official capacity, it should definitely be separated because they are different. They're made differently. They have different ways that they work. Like every Chinese Donghua that I've watched has been kind of more fast paced in how they tell their story, or sometimes they just ignore their story completely and just go. So it's a different experience. It's still fun. It's still great to watch, obviously, because we're talking about it, so we still like it. It's not what I would call an anime specifically, just like I wouldn't call Dexter's Lab an anime.
Yeah, that is definitely a huge
I
difference.
mean, it's still an anime. It's just a Donghua. Like it would still be it was like, you know how Bree made a distinction, like she pointed out that we have genres and we have demographics, right? We have shonen and we have battle shonen. I feel like we have anime, but there are different types of anime. Before, because anime was dominated with just being Japanese anime, it used to be like anime just meant Japan. But then we still have to consider we have Korean anime, we have Chinese anime, we have Donghua. All of them have their names. They all fit in the anime category, but they have specific names because of where they came from, right? And I feel like I don't want to take away from that not being anime, because you could definitely go on a website and be like, I'm looking for Chinese anime, and they'll pop up. I'm on the website right now looking at it.
But I actually think I disagree with that, because saying like, okay, you have the larger category anime, then you have Korean anime, then Chinese anime, still puts kind of Japan as the king, because like anime is the Japanese medium, the Japanese way. So saying that these Chinese animations and Chinese like series are a subsect of the Japanese anime feels like we're kind of shafting China a bit, and that's what made me bring this up in the first place. Like, is it kind of insulting to the Chinese animation industry to put it subservient to Chinese or to Japanese animation? So it just makes you think, why are these kind of like lesser known and lesser shafted? And I realized a lot of it's because the same platforms aren't really carrying like the Chinese animation as the Japanese animation. Like Crunchyroll, it has a few Donghua, but for the most part, it's anime specialist. Well, for example, you have like actual Donghua streaming sites like Bilibili, and I know there's others, and a lot of times they're released directly to YouTube, and those like do specialize in actual Chinese animation. So that's what made me really look and see like, it's not just a subsect, a smaller subsect of anime as in Japanese animation. It has its own like history and tradition. So like when researching for this episode, I was like looking up, so where did this come from? Is it really a subsection? So allow me to give a quick history lesson. A lot of my details right here are coming from a YouTube essay from Accented Cinema account called Chinese Animation in Search of Style. Guys, I highly recommend that YouTube video if you want to figure out like what is Donghua, where it's coming. It was super great. It's like 20 minutes and a pretty thorough overview.
Oh, you editing like, this video? You definitely editing this. You
putting
out way too many names, and you are editing the mess out of this video. But go ahead.
Oh, I just shot myself in the foot. But okay, here's kind of like the brief overview that makes me argue that if it's a Donghua, you shouldn't just immediately dump it under the term anime. So we all know like the two big powerhouses in the animation industry are America, because Disney. The entire world knows Disney. Everyone recognizes Disney products. And that's because they were just that major dominant animation force since the 1900s. And then secondly, Japan. Japan absolutely kicked ass on a global scale from like the 80s, 90s, and heck, even earlier. But it turns out when I was looking up for this essay and researching stuff, China was also like doing great with their animation in the early 1900s. And in fact, in some ways, they were ahead of Japan even. But then, you know, China got really political and like had some economic struggles around the 1960s, which pretty much shut down their animation industry, stunting it ridiculously. So all of their animation was like held back. It didn't progress. Meanwhile, Japan was coming out with like Evangelion, and that was the golden age of Disney. So America and Japan like jumped to become the world leaders in animation, and China just like could not recover fast enough. So it wasn't until like the 2010s that China really started getting back under its feet, because they were looking around in the early 2000s and recognized, we need some like cultural Chinese products. We need something that we can like gather around as a nationality. So they started reinvesting in animation and the arts. So with that reinvestment, they finally really broke out of their shells in like the 2015s. I heard like the two major movies that they like to cite is White Snake, and you might have seen Nezha on Netflix.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Nezha is great. There are, I think right now, two Nezha animated movies on Netflix, and they're both great. The animation looks amazing. Yeah, no. They tell like the same story, kind of like how there's a million Little Mermaid stories. There's a million Nezha stories. And it's great. So China is finally like getting their feet back under them with the animation. They are like breaking out in both 2D and 3D. Like honestly, if you look at some of these Chinese Donghua, the art is incredible. It's just a lot of fun, and a lot of times they carry like specific Chinese symbolism and imagery and such. Like for example, Scissor 7. Another great one, 2D that came out, and it's very experimental in its art style, doing like weird, wacky things. It's not pretty, but it looks great. Another one, Link Click. I loved that. That was fantastic. So with China, like getting their feet under them and really coming out of their shell since the 2015 was a good turning point-ish if you want to estimate it. It feels wrong to like put it under the umbrella like anime's little brother, because like China's been putting in work. They're later and slower than Japan was. Japan like didn't have that break in their chain that they had to recover from. But it's still important to recognize like this is a different culture approaching animation. So it's not Chinese anime, it's Chinese animation in a broader category. So there's Japanese anime, there's American animation and cartoons, and then there's Chinese Donghua. Again, if you want to like check out that YouTube video. It's by the YouTube account Accented Cinema, called Chinese Animation in Search of a Style. It was really interesting and cool to see.
Oh. Yeah, that's a little tough to argue against in any way. Happy I had chosen my side of just saying, yeah, just call them what they call them.
I still feel like when you think about animation, right? When you think of anime, me in my mind, I'm always thinking about, okay, we're talking about stuff that's not of the norm kiddie cartoon-ish, right? Okay. So I feel like there are different versions of anime, even though anime was definitely a term that was made for, Japanimation, right? You could look it up. It's right there. But I do feel like I don't think we're taking away if we say is Chinese animation or Chinese anime, because it's still anime. It's just their versions of anime, right? I feel like everybody, with all the other countries coming in and making anime their own, from their own from what they consider would be anime. I think as long as you slap the name of the country in front of it, it's still anime. I don't think it has the same essence as it did back in the 80s when you said anime and you already know it's Japanese animation. Ever since the Boondocks came in, we're like, okay, what do you consider Boondocks then? Because Boondocks was not done in the US. Boondocks was done in Korea.
But there were other ones that were done. So it seems like when you're talking about anime, you mean a long ongoing series with more mature tones rather than like SpongeBob, purely episodic and kind of childish. But that's ignoring a huge part of anime, that like anime does have a lot of kiddie younger stuff, like a ridiculous amount. Like the idea of Pokemon is more like a almost episodic cartoon in some ways. And then you have
but when you have anime and then you have animation put together, you could pretty much tell the difference of what's what. You talk about the art style as well. we're not just talking about, okay, not just the demographic of but the whole essence of what anime brings to the table, different from what cartoon brings to the table.
Depends on the cartoon you're talking about, because there are plenty of like equivalent cartoons that aren't exactly anime inspired. Like I can see now, if I was looking back, Kim Possible feeling almost anime-ish, and it has like some like not super kiddie, but still like for a younger demographic, has plenty of good action and fight scenes.
Yeah, but that art style just screams cartoon to me, so I would never consider it anime. Just but
there are so many cartoony art styles, like Derby said, Hamtaro.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Gargoyles, that's more of a grown-up audience for when it comes to cartoons. But just by the art style alone, I wouldn't consider it anime, just because of the fact that it's a more mature demographic. I just know it doesn't scream anime to me.
Yeah, but that's
more about art style.
I feel like, I know for me, if I look at Gargoyles, if I had never seen any American animation and someone gave me Gargoyles with like a Japanese dub on it, I'd be like, yeah, this is an anime. It's damn good too. Like, it's based in New York. Okay, let's go. Like, I feel like it's something that we're just used to. Like I said, Dexter's Lab earlier, like Johnny Bravo, like any of the cartoons that we know, if we had never known that these were American cartoons and they told us it was Japanese anime.
To be honest with you, Dexter and Johnny Bravo, they're not American cartoons. They came in the scene in Cartoon Network as world premiere tunes, as other cartoons from around the world before they got picked up. Hey. They're not American cartoons. Like, I feel like you see, when we associate with cartoons and we're talking about American cartoons, it just falls under American cartoons, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the same way when we talk about anime. We talk about anime, it just falls into Japanese animation, Japanimation. But I feel like right now, with so much content being thrown at us, with so much different anime studios getting involved from other places all around the world, they could still have that name title anime as long as they put the country in front of it. It doesn't take away from the fact. I don't think it downplays the fact. If it's anime, if it's Donghua, it's anime.
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like I can only call it anime if you can trace the lineage. Say, like, where did you get the inspiration for the art style? Where did you get the inspiration for the themes? Yeah, you can say it's an American anime if it's about, like, a kid getting hit by a truck in New York, and then he goes to an alternate world where he, like, fights things and giant robots. Because you have that history of where the isekai genre was really coming from. You have that history of where the mecha genre is really coming from. Then it can be put back as an anime. But unless you can like trace it back to saying, oh, it has a kind of similar art style, that's not really enough. Because then I'm thinking of like a lot of the DC animated series. They have like the larger, more realistic body proportions. They're not like super cartoony looking. So I would think that looks more like anime style, but I wouldn't call them anime because they're part of the American history and tradition of like American comics, American styled superheroes, American styled this, that, and the other. Because there's a difference between, for example, how America would do superheroes versus how Japan would do superheroes historically. So Japan often had like that masked transformation group fighters, while American was very individualistic. You have individual Superman, individual Green Lantern, and whatever. So I'd say it has to, like, specifically the artist saying, yeah, this is where I got my inspiration for X, Y, and Z within that tradition in order to count it. And that's why I don't want to immediately put Donghua under anime, because China has its own history and art styles and techniques they're using separate from Japan. So even though the end results are somewhat comparable, long form series, more diverse age ranges, so not just for kids, I wouldn't say they're getting all of their inspiration from Japan. They're getting their inspiration from Japan, just like Japan got their inspiration from America. Like, everyone knows one of the most iconic things you see in anime are like the big anime eyes. Everyone recognizes that even if they don't know anime. But those anime eyes, like the supposedly large one, trace back to Tezuka, who did Atom Boy. Yeah, who did Atom Boy. And he got that inspiration from Disney movies. So one of the most iconic,
you're right?
Astro Boy. That was
like Atom Boy. I'm like, yo,
it's like Tetsuo Atom. I'm thinking like I crossed the Japanese name with the American one. But one of the most iconic things, the anime eyes can historically be traced back to Tezuka and Astro Boy, who then is often known and well known for being hugely inspired for Disney. So in fact, the anime eyes that we know of originally came from Disney as an American animation.
I think we need to stop thinking anime when we think about other cultures, other countries as Japanese influenced, because Chinese animation, right? In its right is Donghua. That's their version of anime. That's what
version of animation. Animation as in a category of art and storytelling. Anime falls under the branch of animation, just like American animation, Disney, and cartoons. So cartoons, anime, and Donghua are all on equal levels, separate from each other, with their own history and traditions.
Okay.
Well, that feels underwhelming now. Dang, I feel like I just put out a massive point. Just like, oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know what you thought was gonna happen. Like, we're gonna fight you over being. You're right.
So that's why I'm thinking, like, it is maybe not directly offensive. No one would be like, how dare you call this anime? But I'd want it to be acknowledged, and I would make a point of not just saying like, oh, it's not anime. Like, oh, well, it's Donghua. Not quite anime. It's a bit different. Similar to how like, you could technically call manga a comic.
I've done
but it's like not
before.
too accurate of a description. And certainly you wouldn't just call a comic a manga.
Nah, I learned to call it quits when Bree swings her hands like that. I'm like, all right, I'll just leave it alone.
You got it.
You won. You got this one. Yeah, the only thing I have an issue with when it comes to Donghua, I feel like some of the they spend. No offense for those of you who like Donghua, this is my opinion. I feel like for most cases, the ones that I've noticed that I've seen, let's be fair. China pays their artists, their studios very well. This is one of the main reasons why some artists from Japan, well, majority of the artists, are going over to China in order for them to work in studios and get paid properly, right?
Yep,
so
we might see a huge shift in the industry soon.
Yeah, it's kudos to them. Shout out to them. They sound like they got nah, they don't have unionist China, but it sounds like they're gonna pay you well over there. You're gonna eat and you might have some insurance. So that sounds well. But the problem is with me. Personally, when I watch Donghua, I feel like the art is so beautiful, and then the story is like, what?
Shit.
Like,
it's absolute shit.
Yo, I feel like they spend more time on the animation alone, and the story falls flat. It's not that the story falls flat, not flat completely, but you would think when animation so top tier, you would think story would be just on that same level.
But I don't blame them, because again, I'm looking at Japan and they've been doing this for decades. They've been in the game. And China's doing a similar thing as Japan in that they're taking web novels, comics, their manhwa, manga, and they're adapting those like light novels into Donghua, into animated form. Japan has this down to an art. They know how to pick up a manga, say, yeah, this, boom, anime. They can translate it, the pacing perfectly, the shot scenes correspond, and you're just in awe. It's like, dang, that's good.
Little boo-boo. Japan makes little boo-boos every now and
then. Okay, but for the most part, they know how to do it.
Yeah, which is why we blame them when they fuck up.
Is better.
We know they can do it.
Right. And sometimes the anime is better than the manga. And even if it's not great, it's at least like a regular pacing, consistent storyline. I saw season 2 of Promised Neverland, and it wasn't good. No, but it was like a regular storyline. I just didn't like what was happening. China, like I said, they're like just getting on their feet. They're just getting into it. It hasn't even really been a decade since like they started putting out those 2015 movies and like really capturing the animation style. I honestly think they don't know how to adapt these books, these light novels, these manhwa into animation yet. Because again, I'm a huge fan. I'll say it again. Go watch The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. It's fantastic. Same for Heaven Official's Blessing. Those are two that I read the book / am reading the book, licensed by 7 Seas. They come out regularly. Highly recommend it. And then I watched the anime. I'm looking at the anime, and I'm thinking, I would have no freaking idea what was going on if I hadn't already read the book like 2 times over. I would not understand the characters. They have the issue of a lot of times having that like same face disease where it's the same character with different hair and coloring. And they just don't explain shit. They just like jump right into the story, condense 5 chapters into like a 10-second monologue and expect you to know what's happening. I look at that, and these are like these major massive titles. Like some of the like top leading titles in popularity coming out right now. And the Donghua version just isn't great well done in that you can watch it by itself and understand and follow along. You can look at it and it's like, I'm confused. They don't know how to adapt the pacing, how to condense the content, how to spread it out, what to take time on, or what to pause on.
I mean, part of it is definitely that they might not know yet. And then part of it is, you know, it is coming out of China. And China has that censorship problem. So even if they wanted to write like a really good, compelling story, it might just get like ripped to shreds once it goes through like, you know, the filters from the government saying, no, you can't talk about this. Oh, no, you can't have this. Happen.
I think that's valid, but don't forget the light novels in the first place had to make it past some of those censors. So I'm even thinking of series like King's censored. Avatar. Yeah, that's actually true. But you can't make a good story like around that.
You can try.
All right, because it's not the content; it's just the pacing feels way off, and that they cram a lot in. It happens so fast. Also, the way the speech moves, like, have y'all noticed that Chinese subtitles go so quickly? Like, you have half a second to read 2 sentences on the screen. You gotta pause. I am like a long-term sub reader. I love it. And yet even then, I'm like, damn, slow down.
My argument is this. So China started animation 1918. Japan started theirs 1917, right? But you did make it perfectly clear that there was a big gap because of the Cultural Revolution and all that was going on, right?
In the by the 1960s.
Right, 1966. So here's the thing. I'm looking at this like, okay, cool. You had a gap. Fine. Maybe it's time to play catch up, right? But when you look at all the money that's being dashed into these animes, I'm not giving you a pass, because you have the funding to actually get good writers involved, because there's nothing wrong with the animation studio. It's more so the directors.
Yeah, the animation studio is fantastic.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's more so the directors. So if you have the funds, why don't
screenwriters?
Why don't you get the proper screenwriters, the proper directors, or you could try something that, you know, people are afraid to do, like Japan. Actually get the creator, the writer of the manhwa involved into these stories in the animation format. Like there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you don't have shonen, because at the end of the day, we all know that in Japan, Shonen Jump has been the middleman between artist and studio when it comes to any content that they have in their platform. They do that on purpose, to get more money, right? So we know that. Japan, I mean, China, I don't know as far as if you can go directly to the artist when it comes to light novels, when it comes to manhwas, and say, hey, listen, we want to do this with y'all. We want to put this and make this into an animation studios. Come on board. We'll give you a certain percentage, because there's no reason for y'all to do that, because y'all don't have a Shonen Jump. That last time I checked, y'all don't have nobody that's in the middle of you and getting into the artist where you could actually pay them properly, because it's not like y'all don't have money. So
yeah, but
I'm not giving them a pass for that. I'm not giving them a pass.
No, I think that's their next step. They haven't gotten there yet, because they don't know yet. Like, just like really getting into it for the last like maybe 10 years, being generous. They know how strict we can be, how strict we are. Right now, we're over here talking in like a second, third-hand market. China isn't worried about us in America yet.
Mm-hmm. They're barely people to sell to.
Subtitle stuff, and they're certainly not doing all that much dubbing-wise for their own stuff. So right now, they have to build up their industry within their own country. Because right now in China, animation ain't shit. People don't want their kids watching animation. Why? They should be studying. They should be doing this. They should be doing that. They should be doing serious pursuits. So animation has a pretty shitty reputation, and that's maybe now starting to come out as China wants to invest more in the arts. But a long, long period of people like looking down on animation. The best writers aren't going into the animation industry. The best directors aren't going into the animation industry. The animators, yeah, they were able to catch up pretty quickly in terms of quality, because like animators have been animating for a while when they were allowed to. So their animation's finally catching up. But all the other bits that go into creating like a good, high quality animated series, they don't have those people yet. They're just getting new talents. They're just training talents. They might try to import some talents or home grow their own, but they need to first change the perception of animation within their country before they can start getting these like top tier people. Japan, ever since like, you know, the 90s, 80s, 70s, have been looking and saying, you know what we can do? Invest a shit ton in our animation industry successfully, wildly. Japan rebranded their entire industry and image on a global scale with kawaii culture. Like, we forget that, you know, Japan was working with the Nazis in World War II. Why? Because Sailor Moon is so cute. That was part of an like official rebranding campaign to push like a different image of their country, and it's wildly successful. Wildly successful.
But
so
don't
Japan
sleep
now.
on China. Don't sleep on China. They're pulling
China's
money.
now seeing it.
They're pulling in money. They are pulling in money. That's why they're able to play their artists. I don't think it's because they don't know. I don't think it's because it's shitty in China. They're listen, they got a following. There's people that's pulling up in the box office to watch these movies if it's coming out on theaters. They're gross. Like, these are Demon Slayer numbers. Right now,
they have a huge industry, yeah. Especially because I think there's like what 1.3 billion people in China. They have a huge market
over there,
but they still have to change the perception of animation. Like, do people want their kids working in this like random kiddie industry? They have to change it so it's not just cartoons. Yeah, that's what it is right now. China's having the problem that America is now starting to get rid of, and that animation isn't strictly cartoons. We just saw in the Oscars someone saying, "What was it? It's for kids to enjoy and parents to endure." Like, luckily, we have the mammoth that is like Disney, DreamWorks, Illumination, these massive studios that are ranking in tons of money to keep us a leader in world animation. Like, any animator would love to work at Disney, like being one of the Disney movie people. It's a huge star in their cap because Disney is a massive industry that's dominated animation, you know, since animation could be dominated. China doesn't have that same mammoth that's been like a through line globally renowned in animation. It's still just like the kiddie shows.
Nah, they got that, not the worldwide, but they got amongst themselves. They don't need us. Like Derby said,
they don't got the reputation yet.
They don't need us. They got like I said, they're able to pull those numbers within their own country. I just feel like for us to give them a pass and say, well, they haven't been doing it for that long, or you know, maybe they just don't.
They got the numbers, but not the reputation. Yeah, they can like shovel a lot of shit internally to their own markets and still make bank because there's a shit ton of kids in China. There's a shit ton of people who will watch these animations even if there's not good.
Yeah, but they're not worried
now they need to build reputation, not just build market.
They're not worried about us. They're really
not amid us, even amid themselves. Because we're over here, we're critiquing our own, we're critiquing a lot of Japan's, and when we look at China, we're critiquing that and seeing how it might not match up in certain ways. Animation, fantastic. I'd even say maybe like even above in some cases. It's absolutely gorgeous. But in terms of the quality of the story that they need to build, they need to like get the necessity to really put effort into those storylines and such.
Yeah. I totally agree. But for us to say that, yo, they just don't know. Nah, I feel like China we all know this. China got a big ass ego. That's why they got that wall. They always think they the best. It's not like they don't know. They know what they're doing. They just feel like this is perfect for us. But until they listen to us and Black Robin Podcast and the listeners that we got underneath us.
Oh gosh, you're gonna get us in trouble with Xi Jinping.
No. We're not gonna get in trouble. They're not worried about us. You know what they're worried about? They're worried about solo leveling because Japan and China.
Wait, isn't that Korean?
That's Korean, yeah.
That's Korean, but they're also having issues with politically of what's going on. So that's one of the reasons why I think is going to be pushed back. But aside from that, listen, they're not worried about that. They really not. We're saying that they should. I'm not making excuses.
I'm saying that they will.
No, I'm not saying that listen, I'm not making excuses for them. I'm not saying that, oh, they don't. They freaking know. They got over billions of dollars in coming into this industry to the point that they got people leaving other countries to come do it with them. They know. They just say, hey, listen, this is still making bank, and that's it. I'm just saying, I wish they would put the money that they're having into a story. I don't think they really care about.
They're working on it. What I'm saying is they know, they just haven't gotten there yet.
I don't think
the hands are going.
I don't think they're working on it.
The hands are going.
For simple fact, like again, like I say, this is China. There is a lot of stuff they don't want anyone talking about, and I don't think a lot of writers are willing to risk that. Like to risk jail time because they wrote the wrong thing into a story. They
will, because don't forget, like I said, right now, as of I want to say it was around 2006, the China decided they want to pursue animation as a way of getting like their own homegrown art form that they can rally around nationally.
You're not going to get in trouble for drawing the greatest fight scene ever. You will for writing a story. That's
step one is that it looks pretty. Step two, you have to actually give quality behind it. Y'all are thinking they're just gonna like stop at looking pretty? No, anyone in their right mind would say, okay, now let's make this like a masterpiece. Let's not just make it look pretty. Let's give it the content. Nice like Chinese imagery, tradition, ideas, story. And that's what they're gonna do. Like some of those movies, Nezha movie, fantastic. That did have the whole package. So they are working on, they are improving. It's just that the storyline is still lagging behind the animation quality, and I think they're going to be catching up on that.
I enjoyed Nezha. I would not say the story was great.
What?
No. It was okay at best.
What? Okay. Maybe I'll have to rewatch it to get another opinion. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I saw it 2 or 3 times, and I still enjoyed it.
The animation is that good. Like, it looks incredible.
But still, it's ways to improve. As they start putting more money into the industry, they'll attract more talent, and those talents will do it right. Hopefully. We'll see. So right now, your theory is that no matter what, it won't catch up to the quality of Japanese animation because the censorship will limit it too much and keep the storylines mediocre.
Basically.
Despite the animation.
That's my stance, yeah.
Well, another thing, too, I feel like when they're ready... Because I feel like the stuff that they're making is not for us. When they're ready to establish having their content into more streaming services and more platforms, because at the end of the day, if it's not on these platforms, how are we going to see it? You know, wink, wink, you know.
Well, they have their own platforms. You don't expect to find like K-drama on Crunchyroll. They have their own platforms. Like I said, Bilibili is probably like the most well-known one. And sometimes they put theirs like straight onto YouTube. Yeah, for example, if you want to watch the Grandmaster Demonic Cultivation, the entire series is on YouTube free.
Yeah, but I'm talking about platforms around the world, not just theirs, because there's
Bilibili is around the world. You just don't have a subscription to it.
No, I'm talking about HBO, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. Those more worldly, because all of those, they have anime. They have Bleach. They have all of those stuff. So my thing is once they make their platform more or their content more accessible, I feel like then
more of their content more accessible. Because like don't forget, Netflix has Nezha, it has Green Snake, it had the Rebirth of the Immortal, the Daily Life of the Immortal King. They have Heaven Official's Blessing. They had Scissor 7. So they're getting a few, not a lot. That's why we see so few. I know Crunchyroll also gets a few of the Chinese Donghua.
Yeah, but if you look at how much they put out within a year, it's it's actually more than Japan. We said before during the pandemic, we had 80 titles brand new. We're not talking about second season, 80 titles that were coming out within the 2020, right? And that's because there was a pandemic. It's usually more. It's usually about 100. Japan doing that. I mean, China doing that in their sleep. They don't care. You're getting these 15, 20-minute episodes, and you're going to like it.
They got the numbers and the money, of course.
Yeah, they do. So it's like you're looking. I'm just surprised because when I did my research, I'm like, all these titles, and I'm only on page 1. God, it's amazing. But I feel like if they put more of these on streaming services that we're used to, like HBO,
Yeah, but like you said, they don't care about us yet. We are such a distant market.
No, when they do, right? I feel like that's when they'll step up and probably put in more money when it comes to storyboards and directors to actually execute the story just as well as the art. Because if you look down and you look at the cover art of all these titles, you're like, Jesus, this is, oh my God, this is beautiful. And then you start, like, I don't mind reading fast. I really don't mind it. Because I could pause anytime if that's the case. I don't mind reading fast. But here's the problem. If I read it fast and then the story's trash, am I really concerned about reading anything? I'm just going to be like, all right, let's just let this play like a song in the background. Because that's just what it's like,
these pictures are pretty.
That's it. That's all
great fight, but that's it. And you know, eventually they might, but I think it might be far away from them doing that because they have a tough fight if they want to like break in to global animation industry. Because if you're thinking first, they have to push out and conquer the industry within their own country. They got to somehow overcome anime in China. Like they've got their Donghua, but China still is a huge source or huge market for Japanese anime. Why? Because they've been sending them anime. Before China got their own industry back under control, their industry was pumped full of Japanese animation because people fucking love Japanese anime. So they have to first push that out of their own country. If they want to go to the way of movies, they have to like beat all of Disney's movies. So it's a packed market and they have to like contend with these mammoths in their own country before they even care about contending on a global scale to our HBO Max and Netflix and Hulu.
If they care right now.
If they want to.
If they care. But I don't feel like, here's the thing. There's people like us that are fans of Donghua and manhwas. All they have to do is just make it accessible. Once they make it accessible, we're going to talk about it more. Podcasts are going to talk about it more. I don't think they have to worry about beating or trying to beat Disney or whatever the case is in the market.
Of course they do, because we say it all the time. How many anime come out every season? And how many of them do you actually have time to watch?
But here's the thing. Even if their stories are a little less than, as long as they still crush it in the animation, it'll rise to the level of us talking about it.
Yeah. And that's it. That's free. That's free marketing right there.
Yes, because how many Donghua have we spoken about in our podcast so far? I think I'm the only one that keeps saying, "Hey, go watch Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation."
I mean, we talked about Link Click.
I mentioned Link Click. We both
did a little bit.
Yeah,
but we can count on one hand all of the Donghua.
Oh no, easily. Yeah, it's literally 3. It's 3.
Right, and yet you're saying how many they've been pumping out every season.
Yeah, but they're not accessible.
They're not in front of my face. We talked about
some of them are on YouTube, full season, full.
YouTube, but we got
they're there. It's accessible.
I refuse. I have PTSD from YouTube. I'm not going back to YouTube to watch anime or anything animated. I'm not doing it.
But I'm just saying, you guys can't say it's inaccessible when there's several on Netflix. Crunchyroll is getting more and more. Yeah, we're still not really talking about those. I know Derby, you've seen a few.
Yeah,
but we're not really mentioning them, despite the great animation.
Hold on, the main ones that have shown up in front of us on our sites that we like, which is Netflix, Crunchyroll, and basically those two. We've spoken about Series of 7. We spoke about Daily Lives of the Daily Life of the Immortal King. You speak about Modal Suit. Yes, we have multiple times, not just now.
Yeah,
we spoke about Neja today. I think we mentioned it once.
Okay, not counting today the specific Donghua episode.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's a movie, so we mentioned it like once and said, "Hey, go watch it," and then never talked about it again. But yeah, we speak about the things when they show up in front of us where we want them to be.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta meet us where we at. I'm not going back to YouTube.
Okay, but again,
all these subscriptions
kind of cares about us. America and like Western English audiences are like side audiences. So they're not really worried about us as a market at all. So we can't expect them to cater to us yet. But if they want to cater to us, they do need to show up more.
Yeah.
If they want to approach us as an industry, make your stuff accessible.
Yo, drop your shit on Netflix. That's all I say. I'll watch it.
You can even drop it on Amazon. I'll even pull up.
No, I don't do it on Amazon. I'll never know.
We're not doing Amazon.
I'll never know.
No,
I'll never know it's there.
That's perfect. That's why you need to listen to Black Ramen, because we'll tell you if it's there. That's it. So, like, I feel like, hey, listen, just make it accessible. Just let you know, us Americans have the license to some of these titles.
Oh,
and I
and
feel
even
like,
more important,
yeah, right.
make some synopses whenever I'm looking, and I specifically look for like some of the Donghua on that ONA list of, for example, my anime list. They almost never have descriptions. They just have like an alternate title. So I'm looking like, I don't know what the hell this is about. I'm not gonna go watching it when I don't even know what it is. Oh, I just want some descriptions under an anime because I'm not gonna watch it if you won't even like give me a sentence or two about what I'm watching.
And another thing too, please, if you're gonna release these titles, make sure you have the Chinese title and the American title, because sometimes when I look for them, I can't find them because I'm using the Chinese title and then I have to use the American title. And then when I go look to another platform, they want the Chinese title and not the American title. So if you have both titles available too, because I'm thinking, hey, they don't have this in this streaming service, and haha, it does. You colonizer, you just have to write
just
it
have to learn the language.
in Chinese. So that'd be great too if they did that. But yeah, I don't want to take away from them. Yeah, if I feel like if it's more accessible, because like I said before, we're not going back to YouTube. There's people out here that are willing, paying participants, paying Crunchyroll, HBO. You gotta go. If you pay for Crunchyroll, Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Amazon, you know how many that is like, oh, that's 5 subscriptions that you're paying for to watch all these different shows and all these different Disney Plus, that's 6. So for me to pay a monthly subscription to these streaming services, and then at the end of the day I have to go to YouTube. I'm not doing it. I'm not. So I would appreciate it if these if you let Americans stream stuff, please.
And
we'll pay
Americans,
you
if you want to look at some other Donghua right now, check out Bilibili. I don't know what their subscription model looks like, but I know they are like the big streaming platform.
Yo, Bree needs to cut us in on this deal she got with Bilibili.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get us a deal. If you shut up and start dumping on it,
I ain't dumping on it. I'm just saying I ain't get paid.
Yeah.
And China, if you want help breaking into the American market, hit up Black Ramen.
There it is. Hold on, I want to see how you subscribe to Bilibili. Let me see. Can you subscribe to Bilibili? I'm pulling it up right now. Bilibili search. Let's see. Oh, you're telling us to subscribe to something that's not even in English. Thank you.
Okay, you can Google Translate that page.
You want us to Google? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Wait. Before you start saying nonsense, yeah, it's a
Bilibili. At least when I speak, it's in English.
It's in English if you choose the English option.
Where's the site? I don't even see the site.
Yeah, honestly,
I feel a little stupid because Bilibili even calls that the anime section. So I don't fucking know what the.
All right, so there you have it, folks.
Call it whatever.
So, there is an English option.
All right, thank you. All right, we got to cut this short anyway. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Black Ramen. Like I said before,
I finally found it.
There it is. What is it? That the second page in the Google list? Because once you go to page 2, it's a wrap.
No, you have to actually put the whole URL into the Google search.
Oh
or else you will not find it in Google.
No, if you want to go out of your way to try it.
No, I'm on it right now. There's nothing in English. I'm on it right now.
That's because you're not on the English site.
Yeah, nah, mine's is in English.
Is your URL bilibili.tv/en /
Are you serious? Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know where you click. Mine's is in English.
We are done. So thank you for tuning into Black Ramen Podcast. If you know where to find us, don't forget, hit us up on send us an email if you have any questions. Ask Black Ramen. It is blackramenpodcast@gmail.com. Please put on the subject title Ask Black Ramen. If there's anything that you're working on, any manhwas, any webtoons, any mangas, please, you can send it to us. We'll talk about it on the show. But please let us know what your content is about. We love the artwork, but if we don't know what the story is about, we're gonna be lost as hell. We're gonna be like, "Oh, this is nice. I think this is the hero. I think this is the potential."
Right? Yeah, it did look good.
It looked good, but we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was going on. But yeah, definitely hit us up. You will definitely get a response every time you hit us up. We're trying to make sure that you guys are well respected and special to us, because we know we are special to you. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Peace. Look at this. Look at this. I'm afraid to click on anything right now because it could be a virus. Look at this.
You got Google Translate the page at this point.
Nah, I'm not. Nah, look at this. Oh, they got bleach on here. That look like Ichigo. That look like. Oh, they talk about Spy Family on here too. Okay, that's what's up.
Some of these look damn good.
I'm not gonna hold you. Watch Cartoon Online definitely got all the manhwas, all the manhwas on there. I just need to put the Chinese title.
Hold on, we're still recording, Pat.
It's fine. It is fine.